Hey, you awesome folks! Thanks for taking this journey of discovery with your guide, Keith Haney. You're listening to the Becoming Bridge Builders podcast, your favorite podcast for everything from racial reconciliation to education innovation, justice reform, and leading change in the 21st century. This podcast is for people who love to be challenged with difficult topics, but want practical solutions to solve these challenging issues. Becoming Bridge Builders makes change possible. Each week on the podcast, Keith invites innovative thought leaders to share how they are building bridges in their area of expertise. You will hear breakthrough ideas and concepts that are changing the world. He's featuring guests who are best-selling authors, leaders at Microsoft, entrepreneurs, leading educators, professors, lawyers, and so many more. Listen in to learn how you can be the bridge to the change you are seeking.
My guest today is Beth McDaniel. She is co-founder and president of the award-winning paint and coatings company, Reactive Surfaces, where she also serves as a legal counsel. She's also a partner in McDaniel & Associates, a law firm specializing in patent and trade secret law. Her legal practice is focused on contracts, business administration, innovation, and entrepreneurship. As a serial entrepreneur, she has guided this bleeding-edge innovative company operating in the paint and coatings and special chemicals industry for the past 15 years. She has served in leadership roles for numerous organizations, including serving as a Pathways to Peace Fellow, a premier social justice organization. Her work in the area of human rights and social justice brings a level of experience and intention to ensuring that any climate solution has at its heart environmental justice and the enhancement of human rights and personal livelihood. She brings the same dedication to her family, including her 2 children and grandchildren. We welcome Beth to the podcast. It's so good to welcome Beth to the podcast. How are you doing today, Beth?
I'm doing great, Keith. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you on. I'd love to talk to you about this interesting topic. So let's dive in a little bit and get to know you better. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Okay. Well, this might sound fake because it's just all too kind of perfect in a sad way, but I have an answer for that because I've been asked that before. And it was on my dad's deathbed, actually, 17 years ago. I mean, just hours before he died. And he was a unique individual, a leader who led with quiet wisdom. He was the best listener, and he was just a kind, fair-minded person that I just admired, obviously, a lot. And I was trying to get out all these things that I wanted to tell him because I knew he was going to be gone in a few hours, and he was still lucid. And I was telling him, thank you for this and thank you for that. My husband was with me, and I said, I want to thank you for giving me a charitable mind and knowing that, it's our responsibility to take care of each other. And he said, and like I said, he didn't have a lot of words for things, but when he spoke, he used very good words. And he said, Bet, he used to call me Bet. Bet, don't ever forget, you can change the world. What the hell? Give it a try.
Wow.
And I've never forgotten those words. And it's just rang true with me. That's you can do things. And, changing the world might be a completely different thing to you than it does to me, than it does to anyone else. But everyone can do that in some way.
I love that. I'm always curious for people like yourself. I looked at your background. You have so many different things you've been involved in and so many different things you're interested in. Who are some people in your life who serve to inspire you along your journey?
Well, for a period of time, and this is not something that I have left really, but I did a lot of activism in human rights and specifically in preventing and ending genocide in areas of the world. And so in doing that, I ran across some amazing people, okay? Lost Boys from Sudan who were, 12 years old that left their village and because it had been blown up while they were out in the field tending the cattle, and they had to walk for, hundreds of miles with other kids and ended up in a Kenyan refugee camp. And life had been tough. And you know what they did? He ended up, this particular gentleman, who's a good friend of mine, ended up being rescued by the United States eventually, years and years later. And he got to immigrate to the United States. And he became a math professor because he was really good at math. But what he's done is he's gone full circle, and he goes back to Sudan, and he has built schools there, specifically for women, because in Sudan only about 1% of women get a high school education. And he wanted to make a difference with that. And he's an educator just by nature. He's a math teacher. And so he went and he built schools, but he made those schools accessible to women because of culturally accessible also, and a lot of people know this, but, like in certain cultures, women are responsible for getting all the water. And so for the household, and so they might have to go gather it from a well. And so he always made his schools around wells, and so they could do what they do, but also get their education. He fitted into their culture rather than coming in and saying, here, do it this way. And I've always admired that. So he's someone that I got to know that he's just has such fortitude and and vision and fairness and just kindness, and really gives back, even though he suffered so much in his life.
That's interesting because if you remember the special about the Lost Boys from Sudan, a lot of those came to Iowa. And we actually have one of our pastors is one of those Lost Boys, and he has a ministry here to Sudanese people in Lamars, which is not far from Sioux Falls. So yeah, it's amazing how those stories connect.
I would love to. In fact, I might know someone from Iowa that's involved with that group. That was involved in a fellowship that I was involved in. That was for the purpose of preventing and ending genocide in the world. And so that was what I was active in. It's called the Carl Wilkins Fellowship. And Carl Wilkins was another person that was instrumental in my activism. And that was, if you want to hear about that, the whole fellowship was named for him because of what he did in Rwanda in the mid-90s during the Rwandan genocide. He's a white guy. He's with his family. He went over on a mission, actually, but he was a contractor. I think he was building homes and stuff like that. He had a regular job, but he was doing his work and in his service. And he and his family lived there, his kids, and they were growing up there. And then Rwanda, the genocide happened. The Hutus against Tutsis, and they he sent his family away. He had young kids and everything. He did send his wife and his kids away. But he stayed and he rescued like hundreds of kids in orphanages. He saved them just from being slaughtered. He was kind of like the Hotel Rwanda guy, but he did it in his own way that he could. As an American, this is kind of one of the things, the nuances that I thought was interesting about his story. As an American, he, when the Hutus who were committing the genocide at that time were in power and this was taking place, I mean, literally people are just being slaughtered in the streets. He, as an American, was respected by whoever was in the government. He went and dealt with these people, okay? He didn't go fight them at that moment. That wasn't the time to fight. He needed to rescue people. So he went and he used his power. He used what he had as an American to go influence them to release all of these kids in these orphanages. And that's how he was able to save these orphanages, was he negotiated with them. And he made it happen. He negotiated with the really, really bad people, but he made something happen. And so that was an interesting, part of the story. But he's just a good man who saved so many people, and he just made the world a better place. And the whole fellowship was named for him.
Wow, that's an impressive story. I remember watching the movie Hotel Rwanda. Mm-hmm. But also when I was at one of my conferences, there was a lady who was there from Rwanda, and she talked about how her family hid in the bathroom while this was happening. They could hear people going door to door looking for people to murder, and it was a harrowing experience. And I think she survived. I don't know if her family did. I remember a little bit about the story, but it was it's a tough thing. So I want to kind of talk about that a little bit, because I think we in America don't really pay attention to the genocide happening around the world. And if we do hear about it, we don't think much about it because it's not in our backyard. Because I just heard about one in Azerbaijan where it's been going on for almost a year, where they've starved out the population. They've had to leave their homeland, and we're now just drawing attention to it. I think Congress just passed a resolution or something to address what's happening in Azerbaijan.
I'm going to look at that. I've been a little disconnected from that world, but I'm going to look at that. Yeah, I have some connections there.
Yeah, they were not Armenia. There were Christians though who were being persecuted by that region. I can't think what the neighboring country was, but they cut them off from gas, from food, and they were just basically starving them out.
And it's happening in various parts of the world. It's happening in Myanmar. It's happening in Iraq. It's happening against certain people, because genocide requires a targeting of a certain people to eliminate,
right?
And in actions in a certain way. But and in China, and in Sudan again, in Darfur, Darfur has gotten really bad again.
Right.
And so I don't know. There used to be something that we said we were in connection with a lot of other people that were active in the anti-genocide world, and we used to say that the world can't handle more than one genocide at a time. And so they can't focus on, and that's sad because it is happening, and we need to make sure it's not happening anywhere.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether they have oil or whether we care about them, or whether diplomatically, they're good for us. It just means they're people and we need to step in. That's not okay.
Were you thinking about the Uyghurs in China? Is that what you were thinking? Yeah. I followed that a little. I try to keep my mind on, or keep my attention on those things that are happening around the world, because oftentimes we don't hear about it unless someone draws attention to it. And it's just happening. I know there's another one in Africa happening too. I can't think exactly what country it was, because I've heard about.
Central African Republic sometimes has some problems, and then also, but I haven't been following it as closely as I used to.
Right.
Fortunately, there were some things that happened as a result of people who felt like we do. This is not okay to go on, and so it was actually Madeleine Albright. And what was his name? Daniel Cohen, I think. He was Secretary of Defense, I think, under Clinton. Madeleine Albright was ambassador to the UN at the time that the Rwandan genocide took place. And at the time, there were all sorts of signs and signals that this was going to happen, but no one knew what to do about it. There wasn't a blueprint for what do we do when this is happening. Everyone just pulled out, including the UN of Rwanda, and just said, we can't do anything, and let it happen. And about 1 million people were slaughtered in about 90 days.
Wow.
And so that was on her conscience, it was on her watch. And she did something about it. What she did is she convened she was back. She wasn't UN ambassador anymore when she was secretary. She was Secretary of State. She convened a committee. And this committee included this guy, Dan Cohen, and some other really powerful people. And they developed over a year a blueprint for how to deal with what might become a genocide, how to prevent it. Not to just wait and go, oh, God, what do we do? And then try to fix it afterwards. There's no fixing it, Right. And so there are things that are going on that are preventing genocides that you never hear about, fortunately. Right. Because they just don't come to be.
Wow.
And they need to be beefed up and supported. But there are diplomatic things that can kick in. For instance, I remember there was a war in Kenya at some point there was a clash between two forces, and this is years ago. And what I found out was that they needed a diplomat to go over there. It was like $25,000, and it was literally an act of Congress to get a $25,000 diplomat trip approved. And so it just didn't happen for a month or something, when they could have just flown this guy out there and taken care of. And so that kind of stuff is being, repaired in the system through this.
Well, that's good. So I'm always curious a little bit about you. So that's one part of your life that we talked about. But what drives you? What's your why today?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And now a word from one of our sponsors, For Freedom Mobile. If you're using AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, then you're being tracked. Mobile providers collect your location, communications, internet activity, even your financial transaction. They sell that data to anyone willing to pay for it and provide it to the government without a warrant. Switch to For Freedom Mobile, and you won't ever have to worry about Big Tech or Big Brother tracking you through your mobile phone again. For Freedom Mobile provides secure, unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data for just $29.99 a month, and it includes free internet roaming in over 200 countries. Sign up for the service by visiting forfreedommobile.com and using the promo code BRIDGEBUILDERS to get your first month for only $9.99. See forfreedommobile.com for details, just like the number 4, freedommobile.com.
Well, there's been a new, my why is always my family, by the way, but we have great kids and great family and all that, but everyone has that, hopefully, and so I'm not going to focus on that. But having said that, my why right now, for the most part, is climate change. Climate change is our company has developed a climate change solution, and in doing so, I have learned a lot about climate change, and so I am legitimately and validly terrified of what's to come, because I genuinely and truly care about, not just my kids and your, and my grandkids, but I care about your kids and the grandkids and great grandkids for years and generations to come. And hey, we've got a big problem in our hands, and we're the adults in the room right now, so we need to do something right now.
Right. So you have a company. I'm curious about your Reactive Surfaces. Tell us about the mission and vision of that company. 'Cause I know that's one thing you're doing to address the issues you're talking about.
Yeah. Reactive Surfaces is a company my husband and I started about 20 years ago, and it's very sciencey. It's a combination. What we've done is combine biotechnology with material science, which is paints and coatings. Okay, a paint is just a coating with color, and a coating goes everywhere you can see, because everything is coated in its manufacturing process, not just your walls. Okay, everything, your computer, your headphones, your eyeglasses, your clothing, even your floors, and everything is, everything is coated. And what we do with the biotechnology part is we take that and put it we harness nature's functionality in the form of usually enzymes and peptides and things that have a natural functionality. That's not what we do. What we do is we know how to capture that, harness it, and put it into a coating system and stabilize it. So when that coating system is spread on a surface and it dries up, just like any other paint, it's functional, okay? It's functional, like it might self-clean itself from greases, fats, and oils. Or we have another functionality that's antimicrobial or even antiviral, like anti-COVID. That company was the genesis for the climate change technology, which was another platform technology that we developed after we kind of got the kick in the head from the UN's reports about how serious this was. We were just like, my husband and I were just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, the only thing we really knew what to do is we'd been in this paint and coatings business for a long time. He's a genius scientist, innovator, okay? And he goes, I've been thinking about something for a while, because he used to do a lot of space research, and he used to go out to the Arctic, and they put on spacesuits, and he's a biologist, biochemist, and do science out there. And while he was out in the Arctic in this gray, everything's gray, every big rocks and just all gray. And he sees this red splotch on this rock, and he thinks it's like a GPS, marker. And so he goes over there, and it's not, it's lichen. lichen like grows in the forest on rocks, real bright colors and stuff. But he was surprised that it was growing out there. He's a biologist. He was like, that's so weird. Everything's so gray out here. You got this bright red, He's like, this is like paint. Well, this is like 25 years ago that he had this kind of epiphany. And then in 2018, when we were so concerned, when we got really concerned about climate change, that's when he said, I think we can make a paint like lichen. And what lichen does is it captures CO2 using algae. It's part algae. And the algae photosynthesize capturing CO2. And that's one of the problems, of course, that we have with climate change is way too much CO2 in the ambient air. Well, lichen's already doing that. So we developed a non-toxic coating system, paint. And this was one of our technologies in the climate change solution. We have several of them. But the paint, we put algae in it. We comprised it like what a lichen is, allowing gas exchange and sunlight, but not too much UV and all this stuff. And it captures CO2. And so it's not a paint that goes on your house. It's actually a paint that we put densely, we put paint on substrates and then we put it in a box and try to fill it as much up as possible. We got a big problem on our hands. It's not time to decorate yet, okay? This is like, we need to get as much paint out there as possible that can pull out CO2, and that's what we intend to do.
Wow, that's interesting. I'd never thought about that.
Most people have never thought about paint.
So what else have you worked on? I'm curious about other things you've developed.
Well, so one of our, we call them platform technologies, is utilizes an antimicrobial peptide, and these things are active in nature. They're all over you right now. There's 100 billion of them or something crawling all over you, and you're just fine with it. Okay, and that's how natural and non-toxic they are. But they function in a way to they poke cells, walls, and they let the bad stuff out of cells. So if there's microbes around, it goes around there, and that's what it does, is it pokes the cells. And which is a kind of a different way of dealing with microbes on surfaces than other antimicrobial paints and coatings, which might contain toxic ingredients or heavy metals that we don't want, and they might have to leach out in order to be effective, and that could cause some other problems. Okay, so this is just an effective alternative that doesn't have those concerns, and that's one of the platform technologies. Now that could be used in a lot of different ways and different applications, everything from like catheters that go inside the body have a coating on them. Okay, we want to keep those things healthy, right, when they're in the body.
Definitely.
It could be used like that, or it could be used on an exterior wall. Now there's different price points, and it's not being sold commercially like that, but it's effective like that.
Wow. So as you saw the report back in 2016, I think you said, and you look at what's going on today, what do you think are some of the greatest challenges that we are facing today?
Besides climate change?
Well, I mean, in the climate change realm.
Oh. Well, the biggest challenges. I mean, the challenge is the problem, okay? I mean, we have about 40 gigatons, which is 40 billion tons, maybe 37 billion tons being emitted annually. And by 2030, we're supposed to halve that amount, according to the International Panel on Climate Change, which is about 3,000 scientists all over the world that agree that this stuff is going down, okay, and we need to do this about it. So it's not, it's not just some one lone scientist. We're talking about a collaboration of the best scientists in the world. And what they're saying is we need to cut that 37 billion tons in half by 2030. What are we, 2024? 6 years? I mean, I've had stuff on my desk for 6 years that I haven't done. I mean, it's not that long of a time. And so we got to get busy. And I think one of the problems is that people might not realize that. And then after that, you got to get down to zero by 2050. Okay. And on top of it, you got to be pulling down legacy CO2. And this is to prevent us from getting into a situation where we exceed, the global temperatures increase over pre-industrial levels, which is 1.5 degrees Celsius. We don't want, once we get past that, all sorts of bad stuff start happening. I mean, the weather, and we're in there. We're in it already. We're up at 1.1. But we're trajectorying to get, it starts getting bad at 1.5, and our trajectory is, some reports say 2, 3, or 4. And that is not a situation we can live with. And it's not that far away.
Right. So I hear people on both sides saying part of the climate change thing is all about economics. It's all about dollars, and it's not real. So how do you, who have studied this, respond to people who are skeptical about the information that they're getting?
Well, always read the real science, okay? And in this case, the real science that you can rely on is the International Panel on Climate Change. When you get 3,000 scientists together, they're gonna have to work it out. People are gonna consider different things and stuff, but they come out with one report that they agree on. So I would say that's a very good report to look at. But there's not that much money in it. Oil company, okay, there is a side to it. Oil companies are kind of making money on it, okay, especially in carbon removal. If they would do the right thing, they could be a part of it. And if they also produce oil in a less carbon intensive manner, that would be better. But putting them in charge of all of it is probably not the best idea. But it's not a money making thing. And we can sit there and penny pinch all we want and about that. And, if someone's got a gun to your head and they're like, give you $200, and you're like, how about I give you 100? It's kind of like that. We have an asteroid headed towards Earth. What are we going to do? We're going to sit around and talk about the money for about 5 years and then it hits? Sorry. I read about it every day, so I'm pretty passionate. I don't mean to be so down, but there are things we can do, but we got to do them now. It's not the time to sit around and go, ooh, it's just scientists want to get rich. Scientists are not rich, by the way, okay? Bankers and oil people are rich, but scientists are not.
That's probably true. So for the audience who are going, what do I need to do to help? What suggestions do you have for the average person listening to the podcast?
With regard to climate change, hopefully we're going to have what will be something that you can do, an individual, which is, I spoke about the boxes that we're going to have, that the modules that we put this painted surface in that captures CO2. So we're designing those for individual use. They're 1 meter cube. Okay. I have 20 of them in my yard right now. And 20 of them would pull down a ton of CO2. Now we have to have some infrastructure around it, and the city would have to be a part of it, and everything, but there will be on the lookout in the next year or so for something like that, because you could actually, have an impact like almost the impact of driving an electric car for a year if you just had a system where you could put these out there, and all they do is grow. That's it. They just grow algae, and then we take it and get it. So the system is being worked up. We don't have, it's not available in cities, but hopefully it will be sometime, because I think everyone could do something about it.
So if people are interested in that, where do they follow along, get updates on that in technology?
Yeah, Reactive Surfaces. That surface is like the surface of a table, not services. Reactivesurfaces.com. Under the technology section, you can follow along with those technologies and climate change and antimicrobials called Protocope. And LinkedIn, and I've got there's some articles and stuff like that. I think I sent them to you.
Yeah, you did. I'll include those in the show notes.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm always curious. We talked about climate change, and some people, that freaks people out. But I'm curious, what are you excited about in this season of your life?
God, no one's ever asked me that question. What am I excited about? I'm always excited about being able to make a difference if I can, I mean, I just like people. And we're building a pool too. I'm excited about that.
All right, cool. Just like in Christmas Vacation.
Yeah. After the pandemic, when we were stuck at home so much, I just thought, you know what? I have to have a pool. And I'm 57 years old. I'm going to have a pool in my yard. I don't have little kids anymore or anything. So, yeah, I'm not going to be without a pool again.
That's cool. That's awesome. My yard's too small for a pool. It would just be like a pond. So we talked a little bit about this. I'm always curious for my guests. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I hope that my legacy, of course, includes contributed to, keeping climate change at a reasonable level. And my legacy, I hope that, I got kids that are way smarter than me. We got a couple grandkids too. And I just hope that they know that they were loved a lot, and we thought they were just the best. And I hope that, every child I've been able to connect with feels that way. I like kids a lot.
Cool. Well, I have a lot of kids, so I like mine too. So,
how many do you have?
6.
You do? Oh, I want to come to your house. I bet that's fun.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
No, I don't think so. Well, you haven't asked me like what my talent is.
Oh, what's your talent?
And it's the only one I really have. But I have a way of understanding what dogs are thinking and speaking for dogs. So, yeah, and I'm a real kind of dog freak. But it's not just that I'm talking to my dogs. I am talking for the dogs. So, yeah, we have a lot of personalities going on in our house.
So you're a dog whisperer.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have a dog farm. You asked what I was going to. I wasn't going to mention this, but I'm going to have a dog farm when I retire. I want to go get on a river. I really like rivers, and we want to get on a river, and where we have both sides of the river, because I've been in real estate before where we had to argue about the river. So it's always good to have both sides. That's your real estate tip for the day.
There you go.
If you're going to be on a lake or river, try to own both sides of it, because at some point there's going to be a disagreement about where the middle is or where you get to go. So anyway, yeah, that's my dream, is to have like a little river, both sides, and then just have a dog farm with just all dogs there, and just, I don't know, I'd be happy with that.
That's so awesome. So one more time, where can listeners find your website of your company, and where can they connect with you on social media?
Yeah, reactivesurfaces.com. And my LinkedIn is Beth McDaniel, Reactive Surfaces. I don't know how to quote my LinkedIn.
Me either.
But that's where most of my, podcasts and publications and things are.
Well, Beth, thanks so much for taking the time to share with us what you're working on and the innovations you guys are doing. And we pray that you continue to progress and develop newer things to help us be good stewards of the planet God has given us.
Thank you so much, Keith. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Becoming Bridge Builder. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help support the podcast, please subscribe and share it with others. Post about it on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at bkeithhaney and on Getter and Twitter at RevHeadpin, or on his website at alightbreaksthrough.org. Thanks again, and tune in next time.
Do you know that most entrepreneurs hit a revenue ceiling and have no idea why? They're working harder, spending more money, running more ads, but revenue stays flat. My friend, Dr. Noah St. John, calls this the invisible break. He's giving our listeners a free revenue ceiling audit to help you see what's really holding you back. You'll get a free 30-day membership to NoahBot, giving you access to Dr. Noah's 30 years of experience to help you reach your next level. But hurry, because there's only 50 available this month. So if you're tired of being stuck at the same revenue level and want to finally break through, get your free revenue ceiling audit at drnoahvault.com in the affiliate link that'll be listed in the show notes.